Well, I'm not a cook.
But let's make this Watergate salad, and let's talk about the Watergate leak. So, like I said, today we're going to be making a Watergate salad, which actually has nothing to do with its namesake scandal. It's the vintage equivalent of clickbait, cooked up by an enterprising food editor to drum up sales.
That aside, we're still going to be talking about Watergate. I just thought that was a fun little fact. The president at the time was this guy, Richard Nixon, and Nixon was kind of a polarizing fellow. He would frequently get into scandals, but would always prevail in the end.
Much of Nixon's success in curbing scandal was owed to the many stalwart supporters he employed in his administration. A group of these Nixon officials took it upon themselves to form a secretive special investigations unit, tasked with the job of squashing information leaks. They called themselves the Plumbers, a play on words, water leaks as opposed to information leaks, and were willing to engage in acts that were not strictly legal. The Plumbers' first task was to break into the offices of Daniel Ellsberg, psychiatrist. Ellsberg was the whistleblower who leaked the Pentagon Papers, a series of documents that demonstrated the Nixon administration's refusal to end the costly and highly opposed Vietnam War, despite knowing that it was destined to fail and despite the high death toll of over 53,000. The Plumbers thought that by exposing Ellsberg's potential mental illness, they could discredit him in the eyes of the public. This mission ultimately turned out to be a failure, but it set in motion much of the illegal activities that Nixon's supporters and his administration would take. The Plumbers purportedly disbanded after the failed break-in, but many of its members, like G. Gordon Liddy and E. Howard Hunt, would work closely with the Committee to Re-elect the President, aka CREEP, and be implicated in and engineer the Watergate scandal. So, we've discussed the circumstances leading up to it, but what was Watergate, and why was it so important? In 1972, a group of 5 men were arrested while trying to break into the headquarters of the Democratic National Committee, located in the plush Watergate complex in Washington, D.C. While it was evident that the 5 men had been trying to wiretap the DNC and listen in on the conversations, it wasn't immediately clear who had ordered them to do it and why. Though Nixon and his administration continued to take any and every measure possible to conceal their involvement, because it was creep, they wouldn't succeed for long. This had been a failed attempt to gain intel on their rival party. Nixon, a Republican, was no stranger to surreptitious recording. A top FBI official, known as Deep Throat, blew the case wide open, leaking files to the Washington Post. The resulting scandal was one of the biggest in political history, leading to the convictions of at least 48 Nixon administration officials. Nixon himself, in the face of almost certain impeachment, chose to resign in disgrace. Next week on Dining with Time, we head back to the 1930s, where food popped and so did cinema.